To me, what I feel Robin Diangelo is trying to do is she wants us to be comfortable with the idea of white supremacy. She wants us to be comfortable with the idea that the white race is superior and the white race, they're going to get all the benefits. And she wants us to become comfortable with the idea that while black people are suppressed, they are oppressed, that whatever happens to them in their life is a function of the system. She wants to take personal responsibility away from both black and white people. Hey guys, welcome to Critical African Thinkers. This is the place where nothing escapes scrutiny. We examine everything under the microscope of logic to determine that which is most factual and most logically consistent. So today I'm going to continue my critique of Robin Diangelo's book, White Fragility. And I'm going to be starting with the foreword given by Eric Dyson. Eric Dyson, the famous African-American intellectual. I've listened to a couple of clips of Eric Dyson, and he seems to use a lot of big sounding words that seem to say a lot without saying a lot.
We stand in a culture where a man gets up every day at 5:30 in the morning, excreting the feces of his moral depravity into a nation he has turned into his psychic commode.
He's like one Nigerian politician we have over here.
I must use this opportunity to thank the management of Channels Television and your very good self for this Pantagruelian and Rabelation intervention into our body politic. At the time the APC and the president came on board, Nigeria suffered from a state of economic radiculopathy, social sciatica, and political dystopia. It was not going to be easy in less than 2 years, to bring about a transmutation and transmogrification into a state of El Dorado.
But that aside, let's get into the critique itself. In this foreword given by Eric Dyson, there were 4 major points that he made in this foreword, and we're going to be taking each of these points one after another. The first point he made was that he likened racism to original sin. Now, to me, that sounds a lot like a religious concept. If you want to look at it from the Christian angle, the original sin committed by Adam and Eve, and as a result of that, all his offsprings are sinners. So if you are saying that racism is original sin for white people, it therefore means that white people are racist genetically. And this seems to be consistent with the theme throughout the book, that white people are racist without agency. So if someone is racist without agency, how can they possibly become non-racist by agency? If someone is racist without even having to act, how can they ever become non-racist by acting? So it's problematic for you to say that racism is like original sin, which also sounds like biological determinism. What exactly can a white person do about his racism? It's something that is genetic. What can he do about it? Other point that he made was that whiteness is a highly adaptable and fluid force that stays on top no matter where it lands. If this is true, the implications of this is that it seems to support white supremacy. If white supremacy teaches that the white race are the superior race, they are the best race, they are on top, then what Dyson says here supports white supremacy. If whiteness happens to come on top wherever it finds itself, in whatever situation it finds itself, if it manages to always come on top, then how can we ever hope to topple it? How can we ever hope to bring other people to that level if whiteness is always going to be at the top at every point in time? So still, it seems as if you're making a case for white supremacy. Dyson further says that whiteness, like race, may not be true. It is not a biologically inheritable characteristic that has its roots in physiological structures or in genes on chromosomes, but it is real in the sense that societies and rights and goods and resources and privileges have been built on its foundations. To me, this is inconsistent with what he has said earlier. I mean, if racism exists without a white person having to act, if the system is going to benefit a white person without him having to act, then the system has to recognize something in the white person as distinct from other people to be able to give that kind of benefit to that white person. And most of the time, it has to do with physical features. It has to do with genetically determined physical features. For example, the color of the skin, the texture of the hair, and the color of the eyes. So these are physical attributes or characteristics. These are the attributes that the system would recognize in order to be able to say, okay, let me benefit this person instead of another person. I mean, there is really no other way that the racism is going to single out a particular person aside that. Then Dyson also said that most of our history, straight white men have been involved in a whiteness protection program that guards their identities and absolves them of their crimes while offering them a future free of past encumbrances and sins. And this is very interesting. It's not just white racism now, it's white male racism. And it's not just white male racism, it's straight white male racism. Somehow, women and gay men have been able to extricate themselves from whatever crimes that the white race has done in the past. They have somehow put themselves in the category of, say, black people who were oppressed. I mean, is that really true? I mean, there's always this saying that says, behind every successful man is a woman. And I'm sure that behind every slave-holding man, white man there was a woman behind him, enabling him. There was a woman behind him who did not find anything wrong with what he was doing. Behind every Southern Democratic senator or politician who was pushing for Jim Crow and redlining and all those segregationist stuff in the South of the United States in the past, there were definitely women behind them who were supporting them. So how come it is not just white people anymore? It has to be narrowed specifically to straight white male people. Somehow, some class of white people usurping the history, usurping the pain, usurping whatever hurt black people have historically faced. So that is why white women will feel comfortable to class themselves as victims. Well, to me, Robin Diangelo is saying, oh, look at me, I'm one of the good whites. I'm not like the other whites. Oh, look at me, I'm a woman. I'm just as suppressed as you. Oh, look at me, I understand what you're going through. But what about a white person's admission of his own white privilege is going to change that privilege? It's going to change how the system operates or how the system favors one race over another. If the system is rigged to always favor a white person, irrespective of his actions, whether or not he acts, if the system is always rigged, then what can the person do himself to challenge the system, to make the system better? If it's a matter of legislation, then those things should be dealt in the appropriate quarters. Because if we want to reduce racism to that vague concept of, oh, it's just there in the air, benefiting white people, you have to bring it down to certain specifics in order for you to be able to address the problem and solve the problem. But to me, what I feel Robin Diangelo is trying to do is she wants us to be comfortable with the idea of white supremacy. She wants us to be comfortable with the idea that the white race is superior and the white race, they're going to get all the benefits. And she wants us to be comfortable with the idea that while black people are suppressed, they are oppressed, that whatever happens to them in their life is a function of the system. She wants to take personal responsibility away from both black and white people and just blame it on the system without preferring any solutions. I mean, because her solution is for white people to be more aware of how their actions impact black people. If I'm aware of a certain action that I do that impacts a black person, and I'm not able to change that action because it's not within my control, then what use is it? There is really no use. So for the 4 points that Michael Eric Dyson made, I find problems with all of them. If there are problems in society that needs to be dealt with legislation, then it should be dealt in the appropriate quarters. So that's the video. Tell me what you think in the comment section below, whether or not you believe that whiteness is, or racism is original sin, whether you believe that whiteness will always seek to come out on top wherever it finds itself, and whether you believe that it's not just white racism, it has to be very specifically straight white male racism. Until next time, remain awesome.